Love Island USA Season 7 gave us bombshells, drama, and unforgettable moments. But nothing, and I mean nothing, captivated fans quite like Nicolandria. Nic and Olandria's journey from that explosive day-one kiss to becoming runners-up in the finale had viewers glued to their screens every single night. This wasn't your typical Love Island love story. This was a slow burn that tested loyalty, friendship, and timing in ways we've never seen before on the show. From Ace watching in the background to Taylor and Cierra being major players in this love triangle, the Nicolandria dating show saga had everything. Love Island Huda couldn't stop talking about them. Fans created endless edits, and the question everyone kept asking was simple: when would Nic and Olandria finally get their shot? What happens when two people are clearly meant to be together, but every single obstacle imaginable keeps pulling them apart? That's exactly what we're about to dive into. If you're not subscribed yet, go ahead and hit that button, because trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming. Plus, your girl needs those numbers. I mean, I'm out here doing investigative journalism on reality TV couples. The least you could do is subscribe. Just saying. Let's rewind to day one in the villa. Picture this. The Islanders are getting to know each other, testing the waters, feeling out connections. Then comes the first challenge, and Nic and Olandria share a kiss. Not just any kiss, the kind of kiss that makes everyone watching go, "Wait, hold up." The chemistry was undeniable from that very first moment. Even in group challenges, these two kept gravitating toward each other like magnets. You could see it in their body language, hear it in their laughter, feel it through the screen. Fans immediately started calling them Nicolandria, shipping them harder than any other couple in the villa. The edits started rolling out on social media within hours. Everyone could see what was building between them. But here's where it gets complicated. Despite that instant spark, both Nic and Olandria coupled up with other people. Nic found himself in a strong connection with Cierra. They seemed solid, comfortable, like they had real potential. Olandria, on the other hand, decided to explore things with Taylor. It was a slower burn for them, but she was committed to giving it a real shot. So there they were, Nic and Olandria, coupled with other people, but unable to shake that day-one chemistry. The what-if hung in the air throughout the entire season. Fans could see it, the other Islanders could see it, but would they ever act on it? That question became the backbone of Season 7's most compelling storyline. The connections keeping Nic and Olandria apart weren't superficial. These were real bonds with real feelings involved. Nic's relationship with Cierra was strong from the jump. They laughed together, supported each other, and built something that felt genuine. Watching them, you couldn't deny they had chemistry. It wasn't fake or forced. Meanwhile, Olandria was giving Taylor a fair chance, despite their connection taking more time to develop. She's the type of person who honors her commitments and doesn't jump ship at the first sign of something shiny and new. Things got even more interesting when Jaylen Brown entered the villa specifically for Olandria. Here was a new option, a fresh start, someone clearly interested in getting to know her. But guess what? She still chose Taylor. That decision showed everyone exactly who Olandria is as a person. Loyal, honest, someone who values the connections she's already building. She talked openly about respecting sisterhood and not wanting to hurt Cierra by pursuing something with Nic. The guilt of even having feelings for someone else while coupled up weighed on her. Both of them were too loyal, too respectful of the people they were with to explore what was obviously brewing beneath the surface. It was frustrating to watch if you were rooting for them, but it also made you respect them more as individuals. Then came the Soul Ties Challenge, and everything shifted. During this challenge, Islanders kissed each other blindfolded, trying to guess who they were kissing based on chemistry alone. When Nic and Olandria kissed during this challenge, something changed. Both of them admitted afterward that it felt different. Not just different from other challenge kisses, but different in a way that shook them. The tension was palpable. You could see it in how they looked at each other afterward, how they tried to laugh it off and move on. But fans weren't buying it. Social media exploded with clips of that kiss, breakdowns of their facial expressions, theories about what it meant. Here's the kicker, though. Nic kept the blindfold kiss secret from Olandria for weeks. She didn't know it was him she had kissed until much later. Imagine carrying around the memory of a kiss that felt that significant, not knowing who it was with, while trying to focus on your current partner. The internal struggle was real for both of them. They wanted each other but felt guilty about those feelings. They shut down the conversation every time it came up because neither wanted to be the person who betrayed their partner. Fans watching at home were losing their minds. Comment sections were filled with, "Just couple up already," and "The chemistry is undeniable." But Nic and Olandria kept denying what everyone else could clearly see. Casa Amor arrived like a wrecking ball, and you know how that twist goes. The villa splits, new bombshells enter, and loyalties get tested like never before. Nic and Olandria both went into Casa trying to find new connections. Olandria explored things with Zach, giving him a genuine chance to see if something could develop. Nic showed interest in Jaden, trying to move forward and find something fresh. For a moment, it seemed like maybe they'd both move on from whatever had been building between them. Maybe Casa Amor would be the reset they needed. But life had other plans. Within 24 hours of each other, both Nic and Olandria got dumped from Casa Amor. Let that sink in for a second. They both got eliminated almost simultaneously, like the universe was screaming, "You two need to figure this out." Production gave them a lifeline, though. They could couple up with each other and stay in the villa, or they could leave. The decision seemed obvious from the outside, but remember where their heads were at. They'd just been trying to move on, trying to find connections with other people. Jumping straight into coupling with each other felt rushed, maybe even disingenuous to the journey they'd been on. So they made a choice that surprised everyone. They agreed to stay in the villa, but as friends. No romantic coupling, no pressure, just genuine friendship. They tried to make it work, supporting each other while keeping things platonic. But feelings don't just disappear because you decide they should. The attraction was still there. The chemistry hadn't gone anywhere. And slowly but surely, it became clear that staying just friends wasn't going to work long term. Not when every conversation felt charged. Every glance meant something more. Every moment together reminded them of what could be. If you're enjoying this deep dive into the Nicolandria saga, do me a solid and smash that subscribe button. I promise the tea gets even better from here. And hey, if you don't subscribe, I'll assume you're Team Ace or something. Don't let that be you. Just when it seemed like the obstacles would never clear, everything changed in the span of a few days. Cierra got removed from the villa due to resurfaced social media posts that violated Love Island's policies. It was sudden, unexpected, and it completely shifted the dynamic for Nic. Around the same time, Taylor made his choice during Casa Amor to couple up with Clark instead of staying loyal to Olandria. Suddenly, the two biggest barriers keeping Nic and Olandria apart were gone. Not because they orchestrated it or manipulated the situation, but because circumstances beyond their control removed the complications. On day 26 of the competition, it finally happened. Nic and Olandria officially coupled up. After weeks of tension, denied feelings, and what-ifs, they were finally giving themselves permission to explore what had been there since day one. The villa erupted in celebration. The other islanders had been watching this slow burn just like the viewers at home, and everyone was excited to finally see them together. That final week in the villa gave fans the Nicolandria content they'd been begging for since the premiere. Watching them together, finally free to be affectionate and open about their feelings, felt like the payoff we'd all been waiting for. Their conversations got deeper. The laughter came easier. You could see them relax into the connection instead of fighting against it. They cuddled on the daybeds, stayed up late talking, and gave each other those looks that said everything words couldn't. For the first time all season, both of them seemed genuinely at peace with where they were and who they were with. It was beautiful to watch unfold, even though we only got 1 week of it before the finale arrived. The finale brought all the emotions to the surface. When it came time for Nic and Olandria to make their speeches to each other, they didn't hold back. The vulnerability, the honesty, the raw emotion in their words had people crying in their living rooms. They talked about the journey, about fighting against their feelings for so long, about finally surrendering to what felt right. Nic spoke about how Olandria made him want to be better. Olandria opened up about finding something she never expected but couldn't imagine losing. Their connection felt mature, grounded, and real in a way that transcended the typical Love Island relationship. They finished as runners-up behind Amaya and Brian. But honestly, placement didn't matter to fans. Nicolandria had already won in the hearts of viewers. The reason people connected so deeply with their story wasn't just about the chemistry or the obstacles. It was about the authenticity of their journey. This wasn't love at first sight that stayed simple and easy. This was complicated, messy, real. They respected other people's feelings. They fought against their own desires out of loyalty. They tried to move on and couldn't. That's the kind of love story that resonates because it feels true to how relationships actually develop in the real world. Olandria summed it up perfectly in one of her post-show interviews, talking about their unexpected but extraordinary connection that she hoped would last for all eternity. Those words captured exactly what made Nicolandria special. Nobody saw them coming. Not the fans, not the other Islanders, not even Nic and Olandria themselves. But once it happened, once they stopped fighting it, the connection was undeniable and extraordinary in every sense of the word. Leaving the villa brought a whole new set of challenges. Suddenly they were dealing with real-world pressures, social media opinions, and the expectations of thousands of fans who'd invested in their love story. A lot of Love Island couples crack under that pressure. The intensity of the show doesn't always translate to real-life compatibility. Plus, they'd only been officially coupled for 1 week before leaving the villa. That's barely enough time to establish a solid foundation before getting thrown into the chaos of post-show life. Nic and Olandria made a decision that surprised some fans, but showed incredible maturity. They chose to take their time. No rushing into labels. No performing their relationship for social media. No bowing to outside pressure about what they should be doing or how fast they should be moving. They were focused on getting to know each other properly, outside the villa bubble, in real-world settings. That meant going on actual dates, spending time in each other's everyday environments, and building something sustainable rather than just exciting. They went on trips together, including a Disneyland date that gave fans all the cute couple content they could want. The photos and videos from that day showed them genuinely enjoying each other's company, laughing and being playful in a way that felt natural rather than staged. They weren't trying to prove anything to anyone. They were just two people having fun and exploring their connection without the cameras and the pressure of the villa. September brought a major moment for Olandria's career and their relationship. New York Fashion Week was happening, and Olandria was making moves in the fashion world. This wasn't just about attending shows as a reality TV personality. She was walking runways, sitting front row at major shows, and establishing herself as a legitimate presence in fashion. Her runway debut came at the Sergio Hudson show, and guess who was sitting front row, beaming with pride? Nic flew to New York specifically to support her in that moment. She also walked in the Raising Cane's fashion show, bringing her unique energy and presence to the runway. Throughout the week, she sat front row at Off-White and Alexander Wang, styled by the incredibly talented Reginald and Matthew Reisman. These weren't small shows or minor opportunities. These were major fashion moments, and Olandria was holding her own among established models and fashion industry veterans. The fashion world was taking notice of her, not just as a reality star, but as someone with real potential in modeling. The MTV VMAs red carpet became another standout moment. Olandria showed up looking absolutely stunning, and multiple publications included her in their best-dressed lists. She wasn't just attending the event, she was making statements, taking risks with her fashion choices, and proving she belonged in those spaces. Every appearance, every photo, every runway walk was building towards something bigger. She was laying the groundwork for a lasting career in fashion, approaching it strategically rather than just riding the wave of reality TV fame. Through all of this, Nic was right there supporting her. And not just showing up for photo opportunities or social media posts, we're talking about real, meaningful support. According to Olandria in her podcast interview, Nic flew to New York for just 24 hours, specifically to be there for her Fashion Week debut. His schedule was packed, but he made it work because supporting her mattered to him. He told her directly that she was the only reason he came to New York. That kind of dedication speaks volumes about how he values her and her dreams. But the support goes even deeper than just showing up. Nic actively speaks life over Olandria, constantly telling her how proud he is of her accomplishments. When opportunities come her way, he's celebrating them as hard as she is. He checks in on her mental health, making sure she's okay, and not just physically present, but emotionally supported. He pushes her to take up space in rooms where she might feel uncertain. He advocates for her behind the scenes in ways that fans don't see, but that matter enormously to building a strong foundation. Olandria has opened up about how Nic makes her feel safe in a way she hasn't experienced before. Safety in a relationship isn't just about physical protection, it's about emotional security, knowing you can be vulnerable without judgment, feeling comfortable showing all parts of yourself, including the soft, sensitive parts that you might usually guard. She's talked about how being with Nic has allowed her to access a softer, more vulnerable version of herself that she'd closed off after years of disappointing dating experiences. The physical touch aspect of their relationship is particularly interesting. Olandria has mentioned that physical touch used to rank low on her love languages list. Past experiences made her uncomfortable with excessive touching or physical affection. But with Nic, that's completely shifted. She finds herself wanting to be physically close to him, comfortable with affection in a way she wasn't before. That change didn't happen because she forced herself to be different. It happened organically because Nic created an environment where she feels safe enough to be vulnerable in every way. Here's something that shows how invested they both are in this relationship. Both Nic and Olandria have admitted to watching 10 hours of Nicolandria fan edits while on flights. 10 hours of videos that fans made shipping them together. That's not just casual interest. That's two people who are genuinely invested in their own love story, who enjoy reliving moments and seeing how their journey resonated with others. It shows they're not taking this connection for granted or just going through the motions for social media engagement. The foundation they're building is based on genuine friendship first. They like each other as people, beyond just physical attraction or romantic feelings. They want to see each other succeed individually, not just as a couple. They're each other's biggest cheerleaders, celebrating wins and providing comfort during struggles. That friendship foundation is what separates relationships that last from relationships that burn bright and fast before fizzling out. Nic and Olandria seem to understand that, which is why they're taking their time and doing things right. Of course, not everything has been smooth sailing outside the villa. The reunion show brought its own drama and pressure. Fans and the host were pushing for labels, wanting to know exactly where Nic and Olandria stood. Were they boyfriend and girlfriend? Were they exclusive? What was the official status? The pressure to define things on someone else's timeline was palpable. Nic made a joke during the reunion, calling himself Big Belgian, which some people found funny and others questioned. It was a lighthearted moment that maybe didn't land quite right with everyone watching, but it showed he was trying to keep things fun despite the pressure. Then came drama with Ace, a former Islander who publicly questioned whether Nicolandria was real or just for show. Ace suggested their relationship was fake, manufactured for social media attention and brand deals. Those accusations stung, especially coming from someone who'd been in the villa and understood the scrutiny that comes with being on reality TV. But Nic and Olandria didn't take the bait. They didn't engage in back-and-forth drama or feel the need to prove their relationship to anyone. They just kept living their lives and building their connection. Social media discourse has been relentless. Every post gets analyzed. Every interaction gets dissected. Fans debate whether they're moving too slow or too fast. People speculate about problems that may not even exist. Other fans defend them fiercely, creating fan pages and edit accounts dedicated to supporting their relationship. The attention is intense and constant, the kind of pressure that would break a lot of couples. But Nic and Olandria have stayed focused on their own journey rather than getting caught up in what everyone else thinks they should be doing. The speculation hasn't stopped them from being open about their feelings for each other. They post about each other on social media, not excessively, but enough to show they're happy and together. They attend events as a unit. They support each other's individual projects and careers. They're navigating the balance between sharing their relationship with fans and keeping enough private to protect what they're building. That balance is tricky, especially when your relationship started on a reality TV show where everything was public. But they seem to be figuring it out together. One of the most powerful things about Nicolandria's story is the lesson about timing and patience. These two had chemistry from day one, but they needed the entire season to work through other connections, deal with their own internal conflicts, and finally come together when the timing was right. If they'd forced it earlier, would it have worked? Maybe not. Sometimes the right person is right in front of you, but the timing isn't ready yet. That doesn't mean it won't happen. It just means the journey to get there might be longer and more complicated than you'd like. Their relationship proves that good things come to those who wait. Not just wait passively, but wait while actively working on yourself, honoring your commitments, and staying true to your values. Nic and Olandria didn't compromise who they were as people to be together. They didn't throw other people under the bus or act shady to make it happen. They waited until the path cleared naturally, and that patience has paid off in a connection that feels solid and sustainable. Months after leaving the villa, they're still going strong. They're building careers, supporting each other, and creating a relationship that exists beyond the Love Island bubble. They're not just surviving post-show life, they're thriving individually and as a unit. That's increasingly rare in the reality TV world, where relationships often crumble once the cameras stop rolling and real life sets in. The fact that Nic and Olandria is still together, still happy, still invested in each other, speaks to the genuine foundation they built. So what's next for the Van Carthens, as fans have lovingly nicknamed them? Olandria is clearly focused on building her modeling career, taking strategic opportunities and working with top stylists and designers. She's not just chasing fame, she's building a legitimate career in fashion that could last for years. Nic is supporting that journey while pursuing his own goals and projects. They're functioning as individuals who choose to be together, rather than two people who've lost themselves in a relationship. The future is unwritten, but if their journey so far is any indication, Nicolandria will continue to do things their own way. They'll take their time with labels if they want to. They'll share what they want with fans and keep the rest private. They'll support each other's dreams while maintaining their individual identities. They'll handle criticism with grace and keep building something real despite the noise. That's what makes them special. Not just the chemistry or the Love Island journey, but the maturity and intentionality they bring to their relationship. Looking back at their entire story, from that day one kiss to fashion week moments to navigating life in the public eye, one thing becomes crystal clear. Sometimes the best love stories are the ones that take time to unfold, the ones where you have to wait, struggle, question, and finally surrender to what's been there all along. Nicolandria didn't get the fairy tale villa experience where they coupled up day one and sailed smoothly to the finale. They got something better. They got a real, complicated, messy, beautiful journey that tested them and ultimately brought them together stronger. Their story resonates because it feels true. We've all had that person where the timing wasn't right, where other factors got in the way, where we wondered, what if, while being with someone else? Most of us don't get the happy ending where those obstacles clear and we actually get our shot. Nic and Olandria did, and they're making the most of it. They're proof that sometimes you have to go through everything else to appreciate what was right in front of you all along. The Van Carthens are writing their own story, one decision at a time, one supportive moment at a time, one genuine smile at a time. And we get to watch it unfold, not as a scripted reality show plot, but as a real relationship between two people who fought their feelings until they couldn't anymore. That's the magic of Nicolandria. It's not perfect, it's not simple, but it's real, and that's worth more than end villa win could ever be. Before you go, hit that subscribe button one more time, because apparently some of y'all forgot the first 2 times I asked. I'm not mad, just disappointed. Also, like this video if you're Team Nicolandria, or don't if you want them to break up. I'm kidding. Subscribe either way. The algorithm is watching, and so am I.